Capricorn, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these weekly videos, I review the major planetary aspects and transits and report to you how they're going to impact your natal sun, and then what that means for your bottom line, for your day-to-day. I start out really broad with the big stuff, the general overall energy that everybody will be experiencing, and then I focus that information to Capricorn specific information. And then I go into the decans, and the decans are just groups of 10 degrees. Every zodiac sign has 3 of them because every zodiac sign is a total of 30 degrees. And by breaking it into these 10 degree increments, I can see for groups of you exactly how your natal sun is going to be impacted by the other planets and how that is very different from other Capricorns, right? So all you need to do is sit back, and the only information that you need to have for this video to enjoy it and to understand it is your birth date. That's all, because I will be able to translate your birth date into which decan it's associated with. If you want to know specifically where your natal sun is located, you'll have to create a natal chart for yourself, and that is free and it is easy. Just go ahead and search free natal chart, free birth chart, and so many different websites do it. You need your birth date, which you already have, your birth time, and your birth location. And in seconds, once you input that information, it'll generate a birth chart for you, and you will know which degree your natal sun sits in Capricorn. And then you'll start to realize, oh, this is why these old horoscopes never really, they were always kind of stupid, because they weren't accurate astrology, plain and simple. So we're going to talk about the effect and impact these interactions with your natal sun are going to have on your life. So let's start with the big stuff. This is the week of July 12th through July 18th, 2023. In terms of general energy, there is big stuff happening. Let's get into it. We have a new moon. It happens around the 16th, 17th, which is exactly when the nodes are transitioning out of, or transiting out of, they're transiting out of Taurus and Scorpio. North node is currently in Taurus, south node is currently in Scorpio. And then they're going to be moving into the signs next door. Nodes move backwards into signs. So whereas most planets will start at 0 degrees when they enter a zodiac sign, the nodes always start at 29 degrees when they enter a zodiac sign, because they generally move backwards. And when a node, they're always in retrograde, it kind of seems. So these nodes now, the south node is transiting from Scorpio into Libra, and the north node is transiting from Taurus into Aries. So what does that mean? Our mentality starts to shift now. We start to have these questions, or our consciousness turns to the individual or the singular versus, or how is it compared to, the partnership, the two, creating a space and a life versus the individual creating a space and a life. And they're actually connected. The north node and the south node aren't two different things. They're two extreme points on the same path. And so this will kind of occupy our consciousness. This duality will occupy our consciousness for the next 18 months. It's about a year and a half that the nodes stay in the signs that they are. And just a fair warning, anybody who has the node, the north node especially, in their zodiac sign tends to be the discomfort zone for society. This sense of people always want to argue with you, or they always want to challenge you. They always want to, they're always irritated by this energy. So Aries have a lot to look out for, or just Aries generally energy, the singularity, the solo, the individual, versus the partnership, which now will become a comfort zone to people. So Libra could have very nice energies that are happening to it. You are Capricorn, and that means that you are square to the north and south node. And what does that mean? That in your life over the next year and a half, you will see your consciousness change. You will see that it's like a turning point, like you're rounding a corner in your life about a lot of things. the stuff that you used to like, it's not that you will hate it, but that you will start to actually like even flavors and sounds and places that you normally weren't drawn to. You'll start to see yourself being drawn to. I noticed this a lot with me this year, as I was as a Cancerian and as these North nodes approached my square. I started to notice that whereas because my south node was in Pisces, and my south node is in Pisces, my north node is in Virgo. I started to notice this change in me, this dynamic change that was happening inside of me, where I always used to want to be by the water. I needed to be by the water. And where water is still very important to me, it's so much more earth and being surrounded by earth that I'm drawn to now. And you'll start, and that's just a one example, but you'll start to notice in your life as these nodes shift and they square your natal sun. And so it will be Capricorn 3s that will be impacted first, right? Because the nodes come in backwards. So you'll start to see these proclivities, these comfort zones, the things that appeal to you are starting to shift. And not in bad ways, in ways that will definitely almost you'll be open to. It'll be refreshing in a way to be experiencing these different and dynamic energies. Now, when the shift in the node happens, simultaneously we have something else going on the 17th of July, which is a new moon. A new moon that just so happens to be in direct opposition to Pluto, which is at 29 degrees Capricorn. This means a dynamic change between the mature adult, which is represented by Capricorn, and the child, who I've built into the world and created, versus what my family created or people told me I was. Are we maturing? Are we growing? And there's this dynamic shift that comes more toward, like, which direction do we want to head in? This new moon is quite complicated in that it's not just opposite Pluto, which makes it more challenged, more dynamic, more emotional. It makes it aggressively dynamic and extreme. So taking things to the extreme. But it's also, let me get this out, it's square to the nodes, which is dynamic enough, but it is sextile to Uranus, which means all sorts of independence and strange things that have become interesting and intriguing. And it's like an opportunity to express your uniqueness and your individuality. And then it's trine to Neptune, which means it's a very creative and actually very spiritual energy that we need to connect through. This is going to be a shift in consciousness, I believe, globally. That's what we're going to experience on the 17th of July with this new moon and the simultaneous shift of the nodes. There's another big energy that definitely directly impacts you. All week long, Mars is in direct opposition to Saturn. Now, this can be quite contentious energy because it feels restrictive. Mars wants to move and do things. And right now, Mars is in Virgo, which means it wants to be scheduled. It wants to know it wants the directions for how to do things, and it wants to execute on those directions. The problem is Saturn is in Pisces, and it's got no directions. It's actually building from dreams, which means it is engineering and it's creating from nothing. So there is no restriction, there is no directions, and so this creates a friction but I don't know how to do this, and I want to feel comfortable with how to do this, but you're not going to be comfortable with how to do anything because this kind of stuff has never been done before. So there is a dynamic tension that's being pointed out this week between those two also dualities, Pisces and Virgo, which is the amorphous and the nebulous, and Virgo, which is the described, the dictated, and the understood. So there's once again this magnification of dualities this week that's creating a lot of tension. The tension between Saturn and Mars is exacerbated by the fact that Saturn is in a long-term semi-square with Chiron, which makes you feel like you're never good enough. And I'm not even going to try it because I won't get it right. And this feeling of not wanting to move forward or take any chances because of the lack of self-esteem or feeling of being deserving. It's really going to add a layer of challenge by creating more anxiety, creating more depression, creating lower levels of self-esteem and self-doubt, all of which we're going to be challenged by this week. We do have Venus and Mars still in conjunction until maybe the 16th of July. So for most of this week, you really have that sexual energy in the air still, but I feel like it's being diminished by all the stuff that is happening around it. Venus, however, is also highly active with the nodes. As they transfer into Libra and Aries, Venus is sextile to the south node, which is Libra, which she rules, and trine to the north node. So there is this energy of trying to find the beauty in both and how one actually is the outcome of the other. This is really interesting energy, how they're all aligning. And I'd be happy to know what you're thinking or what you're experiencing as this week unfolds. Now let's dive deep into Capricornian energy specifically. So what I look for Capricornian energy is Capricorn. What's happening in the zodiac sign of Capricorn? Something big, which is Pluto. Pluto is in Capricorn at 29 degrees. It sat with Capricorn for over a decade, and now it is retrograded back into Capricorn. It'll go direct and head back into Aquarius. I think there's going to be one more retrograde into Capricorn. So there's still this sort of toggle point where you're still being tugged by Pluto. But it's at 29 degrees Capricorn. Of course, Pluto is the energy of destruction, permanent change, because something has to end to pave way or create the fertile soil for something to rise. So there is kind of this destructiveness. What is it? Destruction of the adult? Destruction of the maturity? Destruction of rules, laws, regulations? This is destruction in order to recreate it. A very interesting conversation, to say the least. And then what's happening with Saturn? Well, Saturn is at 6 degrees Pisces and stays there all week long. A very difficult energy for Saturn to be in because it doesn't know what to make of Pisces, and it's trying to create rules and laws in a place where there aren't any. So faith is what it needs to connect to. This sense of, even though I don't know what the heck is going on, I am drawn to finding what it does to me and how it restructures me. So you have the opposition to Mars all week long and the semi-square to Chiron all week long, meaning that this week, as far as Saturn is concerned, and Saturn is your ruling dignitary, it's very challenging. Like, I would not be surprised if there was more of self-doubt, more proclivity for depression and anxiety, and also anger with that opposition to Mars. Just this sense of, I don't want to feel restricted. I don't want to feel confined or tied down. You'll feel that more than you have maybe in a while, Capricorn, just an FYI. Let's break things down into the decans. Capricorn, if you know your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Capricorn, then it falls within the first decan of Capricorn. And so you are Capricorn ones. This correlates to December Capricorn birthdays primarily. Anywhere between the 21st or 22nd of December through the 31st of December, that would be you guys. Definitely Sagittarius cuspers, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Definitely Christmas babies, all y'all. So it's you guys who are in a long-term sextile to Saturn. So there's a lot of productivity and growth, especially for your career, your business sense, what you are putting forward in the world. A lot of growth over this next year. This trine to Neptune, if you're at the cusp, there's a trine to Neptune, and that is really beautiful energy because you can create, and your mind isn't stuck or bound by what's been happening, by what's already been or what already exists, and that's happening over the next couple of years. This week, you will feel the transition of the nodes. The transition of the nodes is actually trine. You're trine to the North Node and sextile, your natal suns are trine to the North Node and sextile to the South Node, which means as this dynamic changes, it can open up and broaden and expand your ideas to see opportunities. Opportunities will open just because this dynamic change of mind starts to happen, or change of mind starts to happen, could leave you open to a lot of opportunities. This week, your natal suns are trine to Mars, so energy levels will be content. You will also, but since it is in direct opposition to Saturn, there is this energy of being able to make harmony or harmonize with what I can't do and with what I can't push. And if you are in a situation where there is a lot of contention, there is a more likelihood that you guys will be able to find some sense of balance and some sense of purpose that can come from it. Through the 15th of this week, your natal suns are quincunx to Mercury, so that could make communication kind of difficult for you. A lot of communication errors or technological failures. So just watch out and try to wait till later on this week or next week to sign any important documents, or if things are delayed in their response to you, it is this quincunx to Mercury, and don't you worry, it won't last long. Capricorn 2s. Happy birthday, Doug Denny. If you know your natal sun is located between 10 and 19 degrees Capricorn, it's in the second decan of Capricorn, you are Capricorn 2s. This usually correlates to birthdays between January 1st and January 10th, whatever year you're in. Your natal suns are in a long-term square to Chiron, and I say this all the time. As a Cancer 2, I am right there with you. I feel it like crazy, especially those of you born around the 9th or 10th. Actually between the 9th and 12th of January. This square to Chiron is very tight to your natal suns, very tight. But all of you will still be experiencing it to some degree. A square to Chiron means already feeling challenged, already feeling like you're not good enough. When your sun is square to Chiron, it's like your traumas tend to get the best of you, and you don't feel like you have the full energy or even the full sense of self to be able to try. And so there's a lot of challenges with past traumas, especially because Chiron is in Aries. It could just be repairing different physical ailments or a lot of different physical stuff coming up that you did not expect or anticipate. So it should be winding down for those of you who are born more toward the 1st or 2nd or 3rd of January, but those of you born toward the 9th, 10th, actually through the 12th, but that's the 3rd decan. It's you guys that are really going to feel the most major impact of these challenges, which means this week in particular will be challenging to you overall. So please, the name of the game this week is self-care. Don't push yourself. If you need more sleep, don't judge yourself. If you need to take time off, do it. Bubble baths and foot massages if that's part of your routine, but don't question what you need right now, because you will need more self-care than normal this week. By the 15th, you guys, your natal suns, especially those of you born around the 1st or 2nd, will start to feel a quincunx to Mercury by the 15th, and through the rest of the week, it'll move deeper into I think it's Leo, right? So Leo too. So it'll be more quincunx to you after the 15th. What does that mean? Get the important shit done early on in this week, because by the 15th, you're going to start to have those communication breakdowns and failures that are really common during like a Mercury retrograde. Just challenges to be able to successfully communicate yourself or be able to find the information that you need. This would be very, very important to check up on and to take that time to heal yourself and give yourself the extra time to deal with the extra added frustration. Let's go on to Capricorn 3s, and it's by a landslide you guys that are seeing the most impact this week, because it is going to be, it's you that it's your natal suns, especially if you're born on the Aquarius cusp. It's your natal suns that are conjunct to Pluto right now. It's your natal suns that are in opposition to the new moon and in opposition to the sun all week long. It's your natal suns that are square the nodes that will change by the 17th, and you'll feel that thud. And so more of you will actually be feeling it in Capricorn now, since Capricorn is in direct square to Aries and Libra. So you'll feel that energy dynamic shift in your life to the point where you might actually go, whoa, I've never felt this way about things before. What is all this? This is definitely brand new for me. You have a long-term trine to Uranus, which is really helpful with dealing with curveballs and incorporating your oddities, peculiarities, uniqueness, or asserting your independence in a way that people feel comfortable with. That's all year long, though. And a sextile to Neptune means opening up your spirituality, your psychic abilities, opportunities to actually connect and be more psychic and spiritual, and definitely creative. So this is a time that you will feel especially like you're not as Capricorn as you used to be. But that's not true, because Capricorn is about creation. It's just you're going to start to rely less on what already exists and more on what could be. You'll trust a lot more the possibilities of things. Let's talk a little bit about the opposition to the sun all week long. Natal sun opposite current sun is very challenging when it comes to egos and what is your ego and who am I and is my ego really together. And any kind of headbutt you have with somebody external is really exposing a crack in your ego, a weak point that really needs to be healed and understood at a deeper level. You also have this opposition to the new moon that's happening this week because you are conjunct to Pluto. So there's already so many dynamic, intense changes that are happening to your life. This is a powerful time to begin completely, to renew yourself, to completely create a new version of everything that you are because of what you're capable of. It's like the caterpillar becoming the butterfly, this sense of, I could never do that before, but now it's time for me to construct the version of me that can. And so trust it. Trust that push toward a dynamic that you may never have been interested in before, because that is the correct direction to go. You let me know in the comments below, Capricorn, how all this energy is impacting your life. Please remember to subscribe to this channel over here. Give this video a like, a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. And definitely come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next week.